So today we're going to look at paragraph proofs, which aren't really that complicated. It's basically a statement reason proof, but just in a different format. So it's another way you can write it if you're a little more comfortable just writing out words in paragraphs like that. So basically what you want to do is you want to think of like having a statement reason chart, and you have, whatever your statements were, where you're going next, and the reasons. And you're just going to connect those with the word because. So let's start out with these given statements because, they're pretty basic. So here. So I just wrote angle P and angle R are right angles, and PS is congruent to QR because that is what's given. Which makes sense. I mean, that's what's given. By the way, don't forget, we're still labeling this diagram, so we still have to label that PS is congruent to QR, so don't forget to do that. All right, the next statement we're going to make, and I'm just going to separate these by color to make it a little easier to pick out. The next statement we're going to make here is we never technically said that angle P and angle R are congruent, but since they're right angles, they have to be congruent. So if that's 90 degrees and that's 90 degrees, then angle P has to be congruent to angle R. So that's going to be my next sentence. So here we have angle P is congruent to angle R, and yes, you can still use symbols. You can write it out if you want, but I think it's probably easier just to keep the congruent symbol where you can use that. So angle P is congruent to angle R because all right angles are congruent, which that would be your normal reason right there, and this makes perfect sense. Since all right angles are congruent, then obviously these two right angles have to be congruent to one another. All right, the next thing I want to look at SQ, because SQ has to be congruent to itself because of the reflexive property. So I just wrote SQ is congruent to SQ because of the reflexive property. Easy, simple. And actually right now we have enough to prove that these two triangles are congruent to each other. It's one we don't use very often, that only works in right triangles. See, we have a leg right here and the hypotenuse of both of this. So this is actually congruent by hypotenuse leg. And remember, this only works in a right triangle, only if this is 90 degrees. Because otherwise we'd have angle, side, side, and if you play that acronym out, then you can't say that one in class, so clearly that doesn't work, also for mathematical reasons, but that's an easy way to remember it. So let me write that out. So I just wrote that triangle PQS is congruent to triangle RSQ by, instead of because, you could also use because of the blah, 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 by hypotenuse leg. And yeah, you can just keep the abbreviation right there. So this right there, that is enough. That proves it. That shows everything that a statement reason proof would show. And if you prefer writing in paragraphs, then this might be the proof format for you.